All right, thank you very much, Sarah, and to all the attendees. Thank you very much for joining us today. We've got a great webinar lined up talking about nonprofit digital transformation, accelerating your mission to the cloud. So moving on to the next slide, there's just a few little housekeeping things. We are keeping this webinar to 45 minutes, so it'll be chock full of great content and discussion. If you have any questions about anything that you hear today or any options moving forward, please email marketing@BAASS.com. You will be receiving via email a recording of this webcast. So please enjoy. And let me tell you, we have a great agenda. On the next slide, I will be able to show you that. We have, moving on to the next slide, we have a great line. First of all, Mr. Les Hornfeld, the CFO of Responsible Gambling Council, is going to be telling us a little bit about that great organization and what they've done. And you have other things like Chuck Jerome talking about reasons why people move across, as well as Paraman, who will bring Sage Intacct product to life in a demonstration. And just to finish that off, we've got two roundtable kind of panelist discussions, one on digital transformation in a nonprofit world and return on nonprofit mission. So Les Hornfeld, Paraman, Chuck Jerome, thank you for joining me today. And let's kick off. I am Dave Rumor. Chuck Jerome is Chuck Jerome. Paraman is actually Chuck Jerome on the screen, and I am not Paraman. I'm Dave Rumor. But I'd love to move on to the next slide and welcome my good friend Les Hornfeld to say a few words about himself, as well as Responsible Gambling Council and his experience in nonprofit digital transformation. Les, welcome.
Hi, David. Thank you. And I am Les Hornfeld, and it says I'm Les Hornfeld. So good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank David and BAASS for inviting me to this webinar. Look forward to sharing the stage with David, Paramount, and Chuck and the audience over the next 45 minutes. I'd also like to thank Sarah and Amanda for handling the behind-the-scenes technology for the event. Just a quick little background on myself. During my career, I've led a number of financial software implementations using a number of different platforms dating back to pre-Y2K. So I've been around for a number of years. I look older than I am, actually, but I have been around for a lot of years. I've also had an opportunity during my career to work in the public accounting sector, along with the federal government as a corporate tax auditor, also in the for-profit sector across a number of industries, along with the not-for-profit sector, where I've spent the last 15 years of my career. I'm now approaching close to 3 years working with the Responsible Gambling Council. Before I actually go into the discussion about why we moved ahead with the Sage Intacct platform, I would like to spend a couple minutes telling you about Responsible Gambling Council. In addition, you can also learn more about us at responsiblegambling.org. The Responsible Gambling Council is a respected independent not-for-profit organization. We've been a leader in the prevention of problem gambling in Canada and globally for more than 35 years. We exist to ensure gambling safeguards are in place to promote the well-being of people and communities. We believe gambling should never come at a human cost, and we seek to influence positive change and advance responsible gambling and lead standards in the industry. Our vision is a world of problem-free gambling. It speaks to the pillars of prevention, helping individuals to avoid gambling problems in the first place, and mitigation, helping individuals and organizations to take effective action when problems arise. Currently, RGC is structured with two legal entities following a recent corporate restructuring where we reduced the number of entities from 4 down to 2 for purposes of streamlining our corporate governance. As an aside, when we went live with the Intacct platform, we actually had 4 legal entities at that time, and the ability to move from 4 legal entities to transition down to 2 entities was much smoother, as we were actually utilizing the Intacct platform at the time of the restructuring environment. I'll go a little further into that in a couple of minutes. As well, Under our two legal entities, we have two actual arms of the organization. We have the Responsible Gambling Council of Canada, which is the national arm of our organization. It works with casino operators and regulators from around the world, providing a number of services, including our RG Check accreditation program, where we evaluate land-based and internet-based casino operator core competencies across a number of areas, including responsible gambling policy, strategy and culture, employee training, self-exclusion, access to money, assisting customers, and other key areas of their businesses that touch on responsible gambling. We also conduct standalone RG reviews for national regulators, along with requests from operators who are looking for independent assessment of their own policies. We conduct extensive research work, including the analysis of risk tolerance and risk attitude of youth and young adults and the ethnocultural biases in the responsible gambling space. We conduct employee training at the C-suite level and other staffing levels in the areas of responsible gambling. We conduct our work around the world and present in numerous international conferences. Our clients reside in Canada, UK, Australia, US, Europe, and other jurisdictions around the world. Our second entity is Responsible Gambling Council Ontario. This arm of the organization works closely with OLG and the Ministry of Health. Specific to the OLG investment, we have what are known as PlaySmart centers located in Ontario land-based gambling venues and staffed by our staff. In the centers, players can take a break from gambling and learn more about the games, work through interactive game kiosks, video, or simply talk to one of our knowledgeable PlaySmart center staff. Players chat with professionally trained staff, learn answers to gambling questions, and get connected with counseling and support professionally if they're experiencing problems with gambling. Working with the envelope of funding that's provided by the Ministry of Health, we've continually expanded the complexity and reach of our prevention message in Ontario through our core funded programs, which include community outreach, interactive games, educational initiatives, and RG social channels. As well, some of you may also have seen our public service announcement commercial playing over the last number of months that discusses what is called knowtherisks.ca, promoting the importance of safe gambling. As well, our website provides extensive information focused on youth and young adults. In recent months, as iGaming and sports betting operators have entered the regulated market following the change in federal laws, there's been a dramatic increase in marketing and advertising targeted at Ontario consumers, as Ontario is the first province that has allowed single sports betting. There's been a heavy presence of gambling advertisers as operators seek to achieve market share. We've all seen and heard the ads about online gambling sites available in Ontario from well-known athletes and actors. RGC anticipates this will be particularly enticing to vulnerable populations who may consider gambling as a form of income or a way to manage their anxiety and escape depression or isolation, as our recent research indicates. We work with operators and regulators on how to best manage the gambling risks that will evolve from this massive growth in gambling coming out of the online space. Now I'm going to move on to why everyone's here today, the digital transformation to the cloud and Sage Intacct. How did RGC decide to move ahead with this platform? Well, very soon after I joined RGC in the summer of 2020, I began a thorough deep dive analysis of our existing financial software. It was a legacy Sage product, and from my perspective, it had a number of limitations. As well, I very quickly heard from senior management about the limitations they were experiencing from the data outputs that were provided to them on our legacy Sage product. A number of things quickly jumped out during my review, including the fact we had to work with multiple databases, along with the extensive amount of Excel manipulation that was needed to properly analyze the data against budgets, along with the challenges of accessing the data through a remote desktop environment, just to name a few. Realizing the limitations and challenges, we reached out to our Sage representative, and I asked to be put in touch with someone who could provide me with other Sage software product offerings that could potentially meet our organization's long-term needs. In order to be prepared for a proper conversation, I also had to do some homework in advance. So what was on my bucket list at preview before heading out to any conversations with a potential partner were as follows. As a starting point, I spoke with all members of our executive management team to find out what challenges they were having with the financial data that they were currently receiving, along with asking them what information they'd like to be able to have from a new financial platform. I also heard from the audit committee and our board on what information they would like to have for purposes of being able to make timely decisions and ask the right questions going forward. Having gone through previous implementations, I knew we needed a multi-dimensional reporting environment with robust and flexible build-out capabilities. Such a reporting environment would include multiple entities under one database, unique department and project codes, along with a standard GL account that can be used across all entities for purposes of running consolidated data in a consistent manner. When you have this type of flexible structure, you can also set up customized reporting to meet individual department reporting, combined department reporting, unique government funding reporting, along with a host of other capabilities. The need to be able to see the full financial picture across multiple departments and to be able to build customer reports that map the government funding requirements was critical. The need to clean up a historic single GL account structure and move to a multi-dimensional reporting environment where we could track at the department level, combined department level, and with the ability to expand reporting capabilities was essential. When we were looking at the Sage Intacct product, we realized the importance of the fact that it was a cloud-based product using an SaaS model, and it allowed us to move into the cloud and get us away from a back office, a third-party back office remote desktop environment. It's a true cloud solution. It also had very important API capabilities, which allowed us to utilize the capabilities to have another partner join the initiative where we would be able to link our AP initiative and move to an EFT environment as well through this integration capability. Now, when we were thinking about it, we had a number of other questions to ask. Were we going to be better on the other side? Did we have the right team and project lead champion that could take us on this challenge? And were we ready for the doubters who don't like change? And you need to get the buy-in from your finance team members and key stakeholders. Now, the most important thing after answering yes to all the questions was, how do you choose the right project consultant? This is the most important decision that will make a success in this journey. When I spoke with Sage, I told him I wanted to be introduced to a consultant who had a solid experience in implementing Intacct solutions and who had worked with NPOs. This led us to BAASS, and I was there, and at that time, early on in the meetings, introduced to Paramount, who's on this panel as well, and his team members. This was the most important early points of getting this project to work successfully. Meeting the BAASS team members and Paramount and understanding their capabilities was so critical for us to move forward on this path. Now, early on, we also had to decide who we're going to invite to the project consulting meetings before we kicked off and moved ahead with a statement of work and subsequently to a contract. And as well, we needed to ensure we were able to meet the critical path. BAASS knew we had a tight timeline, as I wanted to ensure that the transformation was going to cross over our fiscal years, and they were willing to meet our goals as long as we can meet our critical path timelines. As well, for purpose of looking forward, we had a lot of early conversations as to the look and feel we wanted to come out of the box, along with potential customization. Once we had all the answers, we were able to successfully move ahead with the implementation. As well, early on, we also found out that the BAASS group was active in a Sage CRM initiative, and this was also something we were concurrently looking at, was moving into a new CRM environment. I was also put in touch with other key BAASS members on the CRM side, and we were actually able to move ahead concurrently on both an Intacct implementation and a Sage CRM implementation at the same time. This was a huge win for us to be able to use one vendor and move ahead successfully with both projects. Now, when you're looking into making an investment of this sort, there's a number of things you have to take into account. You've got to look at the short-term costs and the long-term costs, as well as the benefits. You've got the one-time consulting costs, the one-time licensing costs, and then you also have to look at ongoing renewals, the investment in new laptops and any upgrades that you require, and knowing as well that you are moving to the cloud, so you're no longer relying on in-house servers, so there's also significant savings on the other end. Once I understood and I had all those numbers as well in place, it also just solidified the importance of moving ahead in the benefits. At the end of the day, we went from 4 databases to 1 database. We were able to move away from having to enter invoices 4 times across 4 entities into 1 invoice, 1 lump sum payment with back-end intercompany allocations. Our ability to have a successful EFT third-party software linkage to the Intacct platform was huge for us. We worked collaboratively with the vendor, with BAASS and our bank's back-end specialists to make sure that this worked properly. At the end of the day, we now are able to go into our AP system, look at our EFT batches, and look at all the documents and sign off documents that are on the actual platform itself in real time, and which expedites any questions or queries we might have at the time of looking into payments for these specific invoices. As well, the CRM system has a API integration with the Intacct platform for our ability to move our client base from the Intacct system over to the CRM system as well. And when you look at it at the end of the day, the beauty of being able to get this done on time, on budget, and at 2 years later, seeing the successes of what we've done has been a huge win for the organization, for our ability to meet our needs, both internally and externally. And it's been an extremely successful experience working with BAASS to this day. And we continue to build a stronger relationship with BAASS as we expand our capabilities. So with that, I'm going to say thank you and appreciate everyone listening to my comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much for this. And, you know, every time I hear your story, it's inspiring. You know, not only the great work the Responsible Gambling Council is doing as a mission and their purpose, but also your ability, you know, to take and go through the journey, but also to share the journey that you went through with BAASS and with Sage Intacct. In essence, move to the cloud actually at the same time to greatly modernize, you know, the tools that you're using to do your job, which, you know, is a natural thing. And it's not just a move to the cloud, but, you know, modernizing and putting your team in the position to take a more strategic view and contribution to the overall organization through things like the mass automation of the manual tasks that are on there. So thank you very much for sharing that story. And so with that, I know that you know, looking forward to when we have the themes of discussion and talking about digital transformation and return on nonprofit missionless. So thank you very much and look forward to chatting with you again. Now, I'd like to pass it over to Chuck Jerome of BAASS. Chuck, thank you very much. Would love you to chat a little bit about, you know, your experience and what you're seeing and the top reasons why, you know, BAASS customers and nonprofit organizations are making the move to Sage Intacct en masse. I mean, this is, you know, it really is a tremendous story of overall Canadian nonprofit transformation. Chuck.
Well, thanks very much, Dave, and good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you today. As Dave mentioned, Chuck Jerome, Vice President of Business Development with BAASS, and I've had the pleasure of working in the software industry for the last 35 years. Started off as a software developer and working through developing applications to a business analyst, and then moved more to the business side of things and got involved in systems implementation. Myself personally had done a little over 500 systems implementations with a number of different companies in different industries, but I always had a soft spot in my heart working with nonprofit organizations. During that time, I was a partner with BDO, which is a CPA firm, and built their practice in implementing Sage applications for them. And for the last 17 years, I've been working with BAASS and in doing the same thing. My primary focus today is more around helping clients evaluate the technology and put together the appropriate design for success in the use of new applications. So I have the pleasure of being able to talk and share my experiences of working with nonprofit organizations and the reasons why they've made the move to Sage Intacct. Now, there are dozens of reasons why they've done it, and more of them are realized after the fact once they get the system up and running, just like Les had shared with us. But let's say the first reason for doing so is the fact that they have a need to move to the cloud. Now, this shouldn't be their primary and only reason for making a change to Sage Intacct, but it often is a big part of the initial conversation. for reasons of accessibility. Certainly COVID has changed so many things in the way that we work in our hybrid working model at home, in a home office, or even traveling. We need the ability to have access to our tools. Intacct as a software as a service application provides that to us. Security is of the utmost importance. In fact, has bubbled up to almost one of the tops in the list, simply because people who 5 years ago would have said that they didn't want to move to the cloud because they were concerned about access to the data are now moving to the cloud simply for that reason, because publishers like Sage are spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on research and development and putting secure places or security applications and capabilities in place so that your data is safe for you. Sage Intacct also it provides the ability to have your data in Canada, which is often very important, especially for nonprofit organization. And of course, it eliminates the need for IT services as well. You know, having an application that just simply is there, you log into your website and you've got access to it, eliminates that hassle of either involving IT or having to have IT support it for you. The second reason is that of automation. And again, COVID brought or enhanced or emphasized the need to be able to do this. We needed the ability to not have to rely on walking down the hallway and leaving something on somebody's desk for them to review and approve. The ability to automate all functions and workflows within the system is something that Sage Intacct provides us the ability to do. Other Sage applications like Sage 5300, those legacy applications, incredible accounting applications, but they just don't have this technology built in unless you're adding on other third-party add-ons or capabilities to do it. So the ability to create a purchase order requisition and then route it through approval workflow to your purchasing officer, who can then purchase the products, have all of the attachments and documentation behind it, like the quotes, and then once the product's received, to be able to convert that over to an accounts payable bill, and then even route that for approval if you want to. All of this is there. These capabilities allow us to then move towards more of a paperless environment, which is again very helpful in our distributed work environment. The third reason we see clients moving to Sage Intacct is something that Paraman's going to show us in the demonstration shortly, and that is around reporting and dimensional analysis. And Les mentioned this one as well, just how important this was to him. One of the greatest challenges we see is people being able to report on all of the things that are going to help not only the accounting people, but the operational people in the organization to be able to do their jobs. And the built-in report writers, both financially and operational report writers in Sage Intacct, were built for CPAs. They're wizard-driven tools and make it very easy for us to be able to build reports within the system so we can say goodbye to having to do the exports to Excel and then manipulate the data on a regular basis. That time should be put more into analyzing the information than actually building the reports. And then the last item, which is the surprising one to most, is the return on time. In other words, all of the efficiencies gained through this process result in having more time to do those things that are more value add to your organization. In other words, being able to provide more support towards the mission of your organization. That strategic value is so valuable to the organization when you can now empower people to do the things that they need to do easily. So Dave, that kind of wraps up the top reasons. Like I mentioned, there's many more there, but that's my favorite list.
Well, thank you very much, Chuck. And I'm still, it's stuck in my head that you've done 500 implementations through your career with different clients. So, you know, I know there's multiple reasons why I respect you, Chuck, Jerome. Chuck went through, the cloud, always on, supporting a hybrid working environment, the automated workflows, the integrated reporting. One of the other ones that is very interesting from a nonprofit or a charity organization is Sage Intacct's ability to handle fund accounting, and it really has the strongest ability to handle fund accounting. And we will talk a little bit about that on the themes of discussion around return on nonprofit missions. So with that, I'd like to pass this over to the real Paraman, who will be talking about a dimensional world. And when you think of moving from an accounting system like Sage 50 or Sage 300 or QuickBooks or others, you're really moving from a segmented accounting system. With Sage Intacct, it's a dimensional accounting system. It's like going from a two-dimensional system to a three-dimensional system. And Paraman will, Paraman, you must be pretty either delighted or embarrassed by those great words by Les. I know that you've done many implementations for nonprofit and other organizations across Canada. You are cherished by all of them. And so thank you for joining us and bringing Sage Intacct to life. Over to you, Paraman.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Liz, for those kind words. Good afternoon, everyone, and pleasure to be participating in the session today. My name is Paraman, and I've had my professional life begin with accounting, with various professions in accounting, and moved to software consulting about 25 years ago, with the opportunity to participate in a few hundred implementations, including the Responsible Gambling Council implementation. I had the pleasure of working with Les and his professional staff members. I cherish that experience dearly. And in today's session, if you could move to the next slide, please. I'd like to talk about the dimensional concept. What we have with Intacct, unlike the legacy systems, is something called dimensions. And there are 8 predefined dimensions and unlimited user-defined dimensions. The dimensions will establish the who, where, and what of transactions, and are not attached to your chart of accounts, rather defaulted and tagged to the transactions. In Sage Intacct, dimensions deliver reporting insights, drive workflows, and secure views of information. We'll take a look at some of these today, right after this. And we can repurpose the dimensions to match your organization's requirement. For example, a department could be renamed as a cost center, and a project could be renamed as programs. Once each transaction is tagged with the dimensions, the general ledger becomes your source for all your reporting. We'll take a look at how these information become useful in dashboards and in financial statements. What we are in here is, and thanks for everyone's patience today. So what we are in here is what is a standard Intacct dashboard. Dashboards are in real time, consist of KPIs, which are performance cards that could be financial and non-financial data. It could include reports, graphs, etc. System comes with pre-built role-based dashboards. We are looking at a CFO-based dashboards. As you could see, there are several other options available as well. In addition, these could be designed by the finance user, which is you, to create your own. And these dashboards have permissions. So if I could go and show that permissions, and then you could share these dashboards with anybody in your organization as well. And whoever has the permission will be able to view these information. So the right information is viewed only by the relevant users. And we could review some of them. These dashboards have real-time data, and you have the ability to drill down, so you could change the dates. For example, I'm looking at December data here. I could quickly switch over to November and apply, and all my data will get refreshed. And similarly, I could filter further. So let me go back to December again and filter further on my departments. This is my department, so I could just go in and look at all my operations department and apply. Okay, so these are real-time data. You could refresh it. So once you provide these dimensions, as we mentioned on the top, have the ability to drill down and filter and view data. And you also have the ability to drill into some of these data. Now, you may ask how easy, because I did mention it's easy to create these dashboard components. So I'm going to walk through and demonstrate how easy to create one of these components. So I'm going to click on the add here, and then I'm going to pick a component that would be a performance card, and I'm going to make it expenses. Management and general, and account group is expenditures, management and general. These are preset account groups, and what I'm going to do is now compare this to the previous month, as you could see here, and I'm going to also put a filter to a specific location, and that could be any entity you may prefer. Okay, so now I'm going to click save, and as you could see, it only took me a couple of minutes, if not less, to come up with this particular KPI or dashboard. And as you could see, it says expenses, management and general, and it shows you this month, which is December in my sample data here, shows you that it's 115,825. And it also does a comparison to the previous month, and it says it's a green arrow, which is expenses. Of course, you spend less, is the better it is. I have the ability to drill into it and look at the comparison as well. And as you could see, here is the comparison of the data. Now, with the right security, of course, the users will have the ability to go drill into it and look at all the way, go into the source. And as Chuck mentioned, you will be able to drill into and look at all the attachments as well. So it's very powerful when it comes to dashboards. I'm going to quickly jump into talking about financial reports at this point in time. And if you are interested, we are definitely can provide a much more expanded version of the demonstration. Let me just bring up financial report, and I want to also show you again, these financial reports are easily designed by the end user such as you. I'm going to edit this one I pre-created just for ease of use, and I'm going to just preview this to show you what kind of information is there. So these are basically expenses, statement of functional expenses, and the different categories. So again, you're able to drill into them and take a look at all the information related to that as well. So I'm going to go drill into it and then look at maybe this particular invoice, and that takes me all the way to the source, which is in accounts payable, which is a bill, and I also see the bill that is an attachment. Okay, so I could drill right all the way to the source, and then I could just cancel out of here and go back to my dashboard. So it's very powerful with the data and how you're able to access it. Now, having said that, this is how easy it is. So this is now showing me the full year of 2022. But let's say if I want to expand this and by departments, for example. So that's fairly easy to simply change one field and set that and then preview and look at the live report. Now, as you could see, all my departments are broken up, and now it gives you a final total on the right as well. You have the ability to print this, email this, or schedule this to an email and deliver it to a cloud or to individuals as required. Okay, that's all I want to talk about in the financial reports. Now, when it comes to Sage Intacct, it is one entity, as Les mentioned, for multiple entities. It's one database. for multiple entities, and you're able to slide into those necessary entities with the right security access. And you have the capability to consolidate all the data as well. And because of the capability in Intacct to map the inter-entity accounting, the automated inter-entity transactions always keeps the do to and do from between these entities in reconciliation, which is automated. That's all I have today, and happy to be part of this session. Back to the presenter.
Thank you very much, Paramin. Thank you for bringing the product to life. It's really interesting when you move from a segmented chart of accounts, like some of the traditional products, into the ability to leverage dimensions does a lot of different things. One of them is it greatly simplifies your chart of accounts. So you essentially, in a typical nonprofit, you might have 3,500, 4,000 charts of accounts. When you implement Sage Intacct, you get down to probably about 400. So you're greatly simplifying that, as well as exponentially increasing your ability to report financial and non-financial data and share that, things like budgets, like fund accounting and analysis, and share that with other members throughout the organization. So in essence, with this rich data and the analytics capabilities built directly into Sage Intacct is really empowers the finance team that Les mentioned, and puts them in a position to exponentially increase the value that they're already delivering. So I'd like to move on to the themes of discussion, the panel discussion, moving away from the Sage Intacct screen. So while that's being done, while we move across, then we will move across into talking about two things. And Chuck and Les, thank you for joining me again here on screen to walk through. And first of all, I'd like to talk about two things with you. One is digital transformation. The second one is return on nonprofit mission. We're going to start with digital transformation. So digital transformation is something that many nonprofits across Canada are going through this exercise. And really, digital transformation is three things that come together in a confluence. One are the people, process, and technology. The people being by far the most important, and wanting to put your people in a position of adding extra dimensional value and feeling valued within the organization. Processes tend to be very manual over time, and that is what we see, and slow. And this is an area where we see dramatic increase in productivity for people that have implemented. And then the final piece is the technology, people, process, and technology. And what is happening now, and there's been a lot of changes in the Office of Finance over the last 5 years. The next 2 years, as you see now built into the product like Sage Intacct, things like machine learning and artificial intelligence for anomaly detection, for Sage Intelligent Time, mass automation, building machine learning into the accounts payable and accounts receivable, and the democratization of data. So what you're seeing now, and with Sage Intacct, you've got 4 new releases a year, because it's a true cloud solution, as Les mentioned, a true multi-tenant cloud. All of these, it's like Netflix. They just are updated, 50 or 60 new features. And everything is always kept up to date for any of the configuration we've done. Once again, Sage Intacct is built by CPAs for CPAs, and it is a very powerful piece of technology to enable your people and automate your processes. So with that, Chuck, I'd like to pass it over for your thoughts and what you've seen and people you've talked to around digital transformation.
Thanks again, Dave. Yeah, I think just to expand kind of on that definition of digital transformation, because every day I'm speaking with different organizations that are talking about this, and sometimes they have a very different idea of necessarily what that is. And so digital transformation, as we see it, is that integration of digital technology, but into all areas of the organization. So moving beyond just the finance group, but into all areas, operations, sales, marketing, all pieces of it. And as Dave mentioned, it is that integration, but in alignment with people and process. But it's about fundamentally changing how you operate as an organization to deliver greater value to your service users, your clients, your constituents, or residents, depending on what type of nonprofit organization that you are. But this creates a huge cultural change that must evolve. So you have to continuously challenge the status quo within your organization and experiment just to see what you can bring more out of your organization. So beyond just the implementation of a cloud-based financial solution, we see companies going beyond the back office accounting and empowering so many more people in their organization with the systems, the accessibility to key information that they need, because everyone in the organization has their own mission, call it their own micro mission, and that mission supports the overall organizational mission. So they can only do that when they have the information in their hands to do so. So as Perriman, showed some of the comparative financial statements, expenditures versus budget, these types of things, when they have that in real time, then there's so much power there. When they have dashboards that can identify an exception or an issue, again in real time, then they can react on a much quicker. So the other area is when you work with a cloud financial management system like Sage Intacct, you have a capability called the API, the application programming interface, that allows you to be able to integrate all applications in your organization to your financial system. And where people would usually do this in a manual fashion, spending so much time doing duplicate data entry or moving things across from one system to the next, no longer is this acceptable in the new environment. So by integrating all of these systems, it eliminates all those challenges. It allows us to embrace other best-in-class applications. I use as an example, maybe employee expenses, picking an application that you can use on your phone to track your expenses and to be able to route that through approval to your manager to get these things done, and then have that automatically flow right to your accounting system. There's real power in that. Again, we're alleviating all of the manual work that needs to be done, and we're providing better controls, better accuracy in all of this information. Les spoke to this earlier today, where they've increased efficiency by 30% in what they're doing. And think of what you can do with that time. There's just so much there to be taken advantage of. Thanks, Dave.
David, you're on mute, so please unmute yourself. You're good to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Chuck. Les, I know you've lived this digital transformation with your people, your process and technologies. Please share some of your experiences.
Yeah, sure, will do, Dave. I would say the greatest thing about digital transformation is speed. The ability for us to gather data quickly, timely, as managers from other departments need information, or internally within our finance team, we need to gather information. We can go to one source, the Intacct platform. We can drill down right to the original document, up to the GL structure, as well as access, whether it's contracts or whether it's invoices or approval forms, and the ability to move so quickly on that, it just allows us to have that much more free time, as opposed to scrambling the old school way, which is which folders it's sitting on, which share folder, who's got access. So that has been a huge win for our organization, having that speed and ability. Also the flexibility of the Intacct platform, for being able to import our budgets accordingly, internally and structure the reports accordingly to get the best data for both our people internally and external stakeholders. So that's been a huge win for us, and the finance team has seen this as a huge win in their day-to-day roles without doubt. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Les. Let's now quickly move on to the last theme of discussion. That's return on nonprofit mission. And I absolutely love this topic. You know, when I look at a nonprofit organization in Canada, they've got their mission, they've got their purpose, they've got the execution of their mission and what they're doing. They're also, obviously, there's fundraising, you know, whether it's through a government agency, through a foundation, or individual donors, and then finally the impact. And so really return on nonprofit mission, you know, is really being able to measure the impact of what your nonprofit is doing, both in terms of financial and non-financial data, fusing them together into metrics that matter. And why do they matter? Because it empowers your storytellers and your fundraisers. So with a strong return on nonprofit mission, it makes it easier to tell the story of the great work that your organization is doing, and ultimately in fundraisers, whether it's repeat donors or first-time donors. Les, what are your thoughts on return on nonprofit mission and its importance?
Well, it's interesting, Dave. One of the things we have internally at Responsible Gambling Council is a set of key performance indicators, both quantitative and qualitative, including EDI analysis, HR survey results, along with client retention, financial outputs, marketing outputs, social marketing presence, on-floor client activity in our PlaySmart centers, and we keep this in one single page. And the Intacct platform helps us greatly in a handful of those particular KPIs because of the way we've been able to structure the data. But collectively, having that one single document to share with our stakeholders provides so much information across all our different business units and our interests, along with our mission, both for human resource purposes, EDI purposes, and all the other things I mentioned. So it's a win for us collectively to have these KPIs, and it's a win for us to have the Intacct platform document assist us with the key financial KPIs that we've developed for the organization.
Excellent. Les Hornfeld, man, you should be CFO of the year, man. I love it. Chuck, over to you. You can either talk about return on nonprofit mission, or you can take us home. We are getting close to the top of the hour, and I know you've got a great offer out for members of the audience. So I'll leave it over to you, Chuck Jerome.
Okay, thanks again, Dave. Just very quickly before I conclude things, I just wanted to share some return on nonprofit mission examples. We always circle back with our clients after they've completed their implementation, just to be able to see how they've been able to measure the success of their implementation. They set out with a bunch of critical success factors, and then they measure against those, and these are critical. So just wanted to share a few different situations with clients that have made the change to Sage Intacct. So there's a community food bank that made the move, was able to improve their cash flow by $25,000 in the year. This translated into them being able to serve an additional 100,000 meals to the individuals coming to their food bank. So that translates into great success for them. Secondarily, there's a family foundation that was able to improve their efficiencies by 40%, and this allowed them to triple their grant making to help those changing needs for their constituents in their communities. And then lastly, a First Nations Development Corporation that was able to improve their cash flow by $500,000, and that allowed them to be able to take 3 of their entities back into the black. So these are just great examples around how they were able to translate the changes in their organization and actually improve the mission of their organization. So just to kind of wrap us up here, again, we want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon for today's presentation. We'd like to thank Les and Dave for their participation in today's panel. And thank you, Perriman, very much for the presentation you did on Sage Intacct. But the last piece that we wanted to share is, as our organization, BAASS Business Solutions, we are a Sage Intacct implementation partner, a solution provider. And that means we're here to help you evaluate the technology and assist you in selecting that which is right for your organization. Having done over 5,000 implementations in total over the last 35 years, we certainly know what works and what doesn't work. So we have a structured methodology to help you. If you decide that you need to make a change, or you want to at least investigate that idea for a change, we can show you how we can take you through that process of moving from where you are today to into a new system that's going to help support your digital transformation journey and support the return on your mission. And we do that through an engagement that we're offering as a complimentary session for everyone that's part of this webinar. And it's the roadmap for a modern financial management system. This engagement will allow us to understand your mission, what you're trying to accomplish, and then allow us to evaluate your current systems and do a business process review, identify the challenges that you are faced with, and identify the opportunities for improvement. Many of the things that you heard Dave, Les, and myself talk about today. So understanding what the impact is on your organization, we can look to see how Sage Intacct can fit in to your organization and help take your organization to the next level and closer to meeting the goals or exceeding the goals of your mission. So if you're interested in doing so, please feel free to reach out to me. I think the contact information is there on the slide, and we'd be happy to set up a time to discuss this with you. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for participating. Thank you for attending the session. To all our guest speakers, have yourself a wonderful day.